get in the habit of publishing stuff uncomfortably fast. That's one of the most important things you can do as an entrepreneur, I think.
Welcome to the Active Marketer Podcast, where we talk about how to design, automate, and scale your business to the next level using sales and marketing automation. You can find out all the tips, tactics, and techniques you need to get more customers and sell more stuff over at theactivemarketer.com. Now, here's your host, Barry Moore.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Active Marketer Podcast. I'm your host, Barry Moore. And the Active Marketer Podcast is where we talk all about marketing automation, sales, and conversion. And we have a really great interview for you today with Shane Melaugh from Thrive Themes. And they've just released a new plugin called Thrive Leads, which is really, really cool. So I wanted to get him on the interview and talk about what you could do and how you can use it to build your mailing list faster. Some really great advice in there from Shane. But before we get to that, I just want to talk about some upcoming events. If you're in the Sydney area, March 5th and 6th, I'll be down there at Manly at Superfast Business Live. And if you see me walking around down there, you'd like to catch up and talk marketing automation, by all means, shoot me an email at barry@theactivemarketer.com. And before we get into the main interview, I just wanted to apologize ahead of time. We were having a great chat about how you can build your mailing list faster and conversion and opt-ins, when the groundskeeper decided to come around with his really, really noisy lawn mowing equipment. So there's a little bit of noise in the last few minutes of the interview. He came and rained on our parade just when we were getting into some really great stuff. I tried to get it out as much as I could with the editing software, but there's a little bit of background noise there for the last few minutes, so I do apologize. All right, so this week we talked to Shane Melaugh from Thrive Themes, and their new plugin, Thrive Leads, has just come out that allows you to do some really great stuff, split testing, different kind of opt-ins, split testing, different modalities. You'll hear all about it in the interview, but I think it's really worth checking out. It's a great plugin, and I'm using it now, and I think it's fantastic. So let's get in the interview. All right, I'd like to welcome to the show Shane Melaugh from Thrive Themes. Shane, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Barry.
I'm very excited to have you, actually, because the new site that we just set up at theactivemarketer.com is actually using one of your themes from Thrive Themes.
Nice.
Somebody put me onto you guys a while back, and once I had a look at all the groovy stuff that's actually built into your themes, I could start culling all the stupid plugins that I've had to put in over the years. And I was really impressed at how kind of conversion-focused you guys are over there and marketing-focused rather than the pretty stupid sliders that everyone has all over their sites.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. That's where we try to differentiate ourselves. I feel like most companies have a design focus, and I wasn't very happy with that myself. That's not what I need. So we try to just put a conversion focus into everything we do. Yeah.
Well, for those of the people in the audience who aren't necessarily familiar with Thrive Themes, you want to give us a little bit of the Thrive Themes history?
Yeah. Well, Thrive Themes was launched publicly just about a year ago, and yeah, like we just said, the idea really was we wanted to create a company that would create WordPress products, so WordPress themes and plugins that are really like business focused and conversion focused. Because that's something that I wanted for my own business. I'm also a WordPress user, and I have essentially a very simple marketing business. Right, my job is to sell products to people, which you'd think is fairly basic, but really I couldn't find any themes specifically that were really made for that kind of thing. It seems like it's much easier to find a theme that has an amazingly fancy multi-layer animated full screen video background slider, than it is to find a theme that's actually useful for selling something. So that's how we decided to enter the market. We wanted to basically make good themes that have a conversion focus, and also create these products that have a conversion focus. These plugins.
We talk a lot about email marketing here at the Active Marketer Podcast, but none of that actually does you any good if you can't get people to opt into your list in the first place. So when you set out to start making a theme that was conversion focused, what what were the key elements that you wanted to focus on right out of the gate? And did you start from scratch? Did you just say, right, we're going to build our own framework from the ground up and that's it?
Yeah, we built the theme completely from scratch. And a couple of things that we focused on were, on the one hand, I wanted to include options that would make it easy to create like a more stripped down and minimal page that you would use for things like a sales page or a landing page or something like that. So that's one of the things I wanted to make sure that our themes supported, so that you could build your sales pages and stuff like that. And another thing that we also focused on in the themes was to include some lead generation options, some list building options. So there are some basic ways in which you can just add lead generation elements to your website using our themes. But then we've just released a plugin called Thrive Leads that kind of makes those a bit obsolete as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Actually, I just downloaded Thrive Themes and started playing with it a little bit, and I haven't really got into it too much. But it certainly looks, again, like you'll be able to replace a bunch of different other plugins that you might have on your website or even external services. I know a lot of the listeners probably use things like Lead Pages or Instapage and stuff like that, which are all great products. But again, you kind of lose a little bit of control there with it being an external service. So when you set out to make Thrive Themes, what were Thrive Leads rather, what were some of the key focuses that you wanted to have in that product and some of the key outcomes that you wanted for people who are going to use it?
Well, the simplest way to say it is that the goal with Thrive Leads is to provide a plugin that helps you build your mailing list faster. Right, and that's quite an important distinction. It's not about just building your mailing list. It's about like accelerating the speed at which your mailing list grows. So when we were considering building Thrive Leads, we were looking at the competition, and what we could see was that we have like a very large selection of what I'm calling last generation list building plugins, which all in some form or another give you various ways and options to add lead generation elements to your site, right? So whatever it is, maybe you can add a pop-up to your website, or you can add some opt-in forms to your sidebar or something like that. There are hundreds of plugins, it seems, that let you do this in some form or another. And that's okay. That's like the first step that's necessary, but we wanted to take this a step further. So we started looking at, what are the smartest and most cutting edge marketers and companies doing with their lead generation, and how can we build a plugin that takes it a step further than just publishing an opt-in form. And so that's the result of that is Thrive Leads. So the idea is that there's really two main things in the plugin that help you take this list building thing to the next level. And, like I said, like the basics are there. Like you can add pop-ups and slide-ins and ribbons and widgets and whatnot. You can add forms and you can design forms and so on. That's just the basis. That's all there. But what really makes it better, what really takes it to the next level is that we have, first of all, very easy and very solid split testing built in. So it's very easy to create variations of your forms and test them against each other to see which one converts best. And we built the testing in such a way that you can basically test everything, right? You can test different designs against each other. You can test different triggers against each other. You can even test entirely different offers with entirely different follow-up sequences against each other. We really wanted you to have the freedom to test anything, because that's one of the things that really sets the smartest marketers and companies apart, is that they do a lot of testing, right? Instead of just saying, oh, all I need is a pop-up that shows everywhere and that's good, they just keep testing, keep iterating to make their list grow faster and faster. So that's one thing we wanted to build in. And the other thing is that we have very detailed targeting options, because again, this is something we just found in our own testing as well. And we found that some of the most switched on people out there are doing a lot of very detailed segmentation. So they will show different opt-in forms to different segments of their audience, and to make those offers more relevant, right? And that's one of the most powerful things you can do to increase your conversion is to make a more relevant offer to your visitor. So in Thrive Leads, we have a whole range of options to let you do that, where, for example, you can create a different offer and a different opt-in form to show across your website, depending on which category of posts someone is looking at right now.
So that's triggered off the blog post category, is that right?
Yeah, and you can trigger this off of basically any recognizable factor in WordPress. So you can use categories, tags, other taxonomies, post types, page templates, just anything that's identifiable within WordPress you can use for this targeting.
And then so you're basically showing a different offer. So if say you're on a health and fitness site, and if someone's looking at a blog post that has to do with exercises, you could have a different opt-in than if they were looking at a blog post that had to do with nutrition. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And this is something that really can make a huge difference. Yeah, someone's looking at a nutrition article, and you show them an opt-in offer that says, opt in here to get whatever, this free report with more nutrition related stuff, can make a huge difference compared to just having a single, catch-all offer that you're showing everywhere on your site.
Right. So on the nutrition page, it's like the 5 foods you should never eat if you want to lose weight. And then on the exercise page, it might be like the 5 exercises to get ripped fast or something like that. So
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. And just to loop back to something you said before about split testing, and I think split testing is it's like exercise. Everybody knows they should do it, but most people don't get around to it. So you mentioned something there that you could even split test on different triggers. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So there's different ways to trigger your opt-in forms. This is especially relevant for Lightbox, pop-ups, and slide-ins. So, where basically you don't have the form showing inside your content, the form kind of appears on top of your content. And there's different ways to trigger that. So you can say, for example, okay, I want to show this after 3 seconds, right? When someone comes to the page, wait 3 seconds, then show it. Or you can say, I want to show it when someone scrolls to a certain point on the page or scrolls to the end of the post, then show this. Or we also have an exit intent trigger, so you can show it when someone's about to leave your site. But more importantly, you can actually test these different options against each other, right? Because that's something you can find a lot of opinion about this out there, but there's not a lot of data because it used to be quite difficult to test. So, what's better? Should you show it after 10 seconds or after 3 seconds? Or after someone scrolls down 50% of your post, right? Now you can just test these different triggers against each other and see what actually works best.
And you can trigger different kind of modalities, like a light box versus a scroll trigger box or something like that?
Yeah.
Very cool. What about users that might be hitting you via mobile? What do they get?
So everything you build in Thrive Leads is mobile responsive by default, so it will work on mobile devices. And there's also a mobile on-off switch. So because there's more screen real estate on a larger screen, you can say, okay, maybe for my desktop users, I want to show a ribbon at the top of the screen and also a pop-up. But then on a mobile device, maybe that ribbon just takes up too much space. Right, so you can just say, okay, if it's a mobile device, don't show this one, right?
Very cool. Very cool. So
now another thing actually that you mentioned about testing, how it's like exercise, everybody knows they should do it, but they don't. I think this is actually a very important factor, and that's one of the things that we also wanted to build into this plugin. Is, to me, it's very important that when we're building something like this that's quite feature rich, one of the really important things that we put a lot of emphasis on is making the user interface as easy as possible and as enjoyable as possible. Because I've had this experience as well where, I purchase a tool or I own some tool that is theoretically very powerful, but it's such a pain to use that you just never use it. Because every time you sit down to think, I should build whatever, I should use this, you suddenly remember all this other stuff that you'd rather be doing, right? And so it's no use having a split testing feature in a plugin like this if it's such a pain to use that you just never do it. And that was really important to us. So with Thrive Leads, it really is very simple to create A/B tests. We've made that as simple and as quick as possible, so that you don't feel like, oh, it's this huge chore. Now I also have to do a split test. It's actually so simple to do that you can set up a test within a few minutes and then have that running. And hopefully, what will happen is that you'll get a good result, and it's encouraging, and you go, oh, this is actually pretty good. And then you continue testing. So that's quite important. That's a factor we kept in mind, like the exercise factor.
For sure. I think we've all done that. We bought some really whiz-bangy tool and get excited about it for a couple of weeks, and then it all becomes too hard. So so Thrive Leads is a completely kind of self-contained WordPress plugin. It's not some external service that you need to sign up for or anything.
Yeah, that's correct. It's just a plugin.
So is there much of a performance hit then in that case if you're databasing all that data on your own site and the split testing data and the graphs and all that?
No. To the front end of your site, to your visitor, there's virtually no difference in performance. I mean, we're loading those forms. That's the only thing that impacts the visitor experience. But again, we have a strong conversion focus, so we made sure to keep the code that we use as lean and as fast as possible. And on the technical side, I don't want to go into too much detail, but we do some pretty, we go very far. I'm pretty sure further than any other plugin developer in the measures we take to make sure that the loading speeds are as fast as possible for what we build.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised by your theme as well when I started playing with it and started building the site, and how kind of lean and quick it is, considering how much stuff is actually contained in the theme and how many features there are and stuff like that. And I think you guys have done a great job at keeping in mind that one of the important conversion elements is speed. So you can have all the whiz-bangery you want, but if it kills your site speed, then...
Exactly, yeah. We're a bit obsessed with site speed at Thrive Themes.
Well, I guess people have been using this for a little while now. Your beta testers and some of your early adopters. Are there any kind of groovy little conversion tips or takeaways that they've given you as feedback?
Well, I think when it comes to this, I think I have two things to say that address two different groups of people, because from my experience, like the first group of people is let's say the beginner, where I think the most important tip is that you get in the habit of shipping, right? You get in the habit of actually shipping. So my first tip for people when they start using this is to create a form and publish it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where, don't get in the habit of putting it off until later. Don't get in the habit of thinking, oh, first I will, come up with the perfect headline, and then I'll make the perfect offer, and then I'll build this course, and then I'll integrate with that, and so on. And then, it's weeks pass before you publish your opt-in form. So get in the habit of publishing stuff uncomfortably fast. That's one of the most important things you can do as an entrepreneur, I think. So that would be the first tip. Like, just whatever you can publish right now, do that. Even if it's the simplest form with the least enticing offer ever. Even if it's just sign up below to get emails from me, which is not a good offer essentially. But even if you do that, it's better to do that right now and then start working on improving it than to just put it off forever, right? So that's like
uncomfortably fast. I love it.
Yeah. And the beginner, that's like the beginner tip, right? And the more advanced tip is, this is a bit more time consuming, but I want to encourage people to, if you're doing testing and if you're really serious about growing that list, I want to encourage you to test value propositions and to test offers against each other, right? Don't get lost for too long in, tweaking headlines and testing button colors against each other and stuff like that. Those are like the last tests you should run, like the most powerful tests you can run that will give you the greatest results and also give you valuable insights into your target audience and how you can market to them, are tests of your value proposition and tests of different offers, meaning that yeah, the value proposition is like the lower level test, right? Where you say, okay, for the same offer, I'm going to frame this offer in different ways.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to make the value look different for the same thing to see which works best. And then the next step up from that is to actually make multiple offers and test them against each other to see what works best, right?
Yep.
Because that's often the greatest leverage point, right? If you can find that one thing that people really want, that's one of the greatest things that can lead to improved conversions.
Yeah, test screams, not whispers, as they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just in your own travels at Thrive, what have you found as kind of the most effective opt-in that you've offered people?
In terms of offers, or in terms of like opt-in type?
Lead magnets, opt-in bait.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, the thing is, I've had like different levels of success with quite different offers. So I've had fairly simple offers. For example, people kept asking me about how I make my videos. So really just in one afternoon, I shot a video just showing my equipment, right? Showing my video equipment. And that's one of the offers I put out, and that's actually doing quite well. But I also have a 4-day course that was a lot more complicated to build, which was it's called Better Blogging in 4 Steps. So it's like a 4-part course about how to build a better blog, how to build a more profitable blog. And that was a lot more complicated to set up, and it took a longer time, but it's also doing well, and it's also tied in more directly with promotions, right? So, and that's one of the advantages of a multi-step course, is that you can tie every step into, like not a hard sell, but just an incidental promotion of something. And if you keep doing you keep promoting the same thing, that's something that I like to do, is like I get this repeat exposure, right? Because some people will see the promotion of your product the first time, be like, okay, never mind. But then they see it again and again and again. And that repeat exposure is what eventually wins them over, and what eventually makes them go, okay, maybe I should have a look at this product. It's quite simplistic, really, but it's really that the repetition is actually quite effective, right? If you just prod someone multiple times without being obnoxious, right? You're giving them some useful content, but you're also giving that prod, right? Saying, hey, you should check out my product. And just the repetition, the pure repetition, is like, it's not very intelligent. It's not like a super smart tactic. It's just you're just going, hey, check out my product. Hey, check out my product. Hey, check out my product. And then that repetition is what eventually wins them over.
Yeah, I was talking to James Schramko last week, and he kind of he's very much an analytics guy and tracks everything. And he was on his site, he was demonstrating that some of his customers have had 25, 26, 27 touch points with him before they've decided to purchase a product. So if you just try and club somebody over the head, you might get a few sales, but if you nurture those people, then obviously you're going to get more and more and more, and that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
All right, Shane, I hear the lawnmower guy coming back, so I don't think we have too much time of silence left. I really appreciate you stopping by and helping. I'm always keen to talk on conversions, and I'm excited to roll up my sleeves this afternoon and get into Thrive Leads. I'm going to go uncomfortably fast, and I'm going to have a new opt-in up by this afternoon.
I'm glad to hear it. Excellent. Thank you very much for having me, Barry.
Man, we'd love to have you back to talk conversions a bit later on, but thanks for dropping by, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks. Well, that was a really great interview there with Shane. Very clever guy, and very clever stuff they're doing over there at Thrive Themes. Thrive Leads is a great plugin. I'm just going to be upfront and tell you that any of the links on the website over at theactivemarketer.com that you come across are affiliate links, but that's only because I really, really think it's a great product. I'm using it myself, and the more I dig into it, the more I love it. You can find all the show notes over at theactivemarketer.com/thrive, THRIVE, or you can also use theactivemarketer.com/episode 2. Here at the Active Marketer Podcast, we're trying to provide you with as much value on how you can get started using marketing automation to grow your business. It's a brand new podcast, so we'd love it if you could tell your friends, share it out, and review it on iTunes. That really kind of helps push us up the chart and lets more people find this great information. So by all means, please comment, share, and rate us on iTunes. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll read out all your reviews on future shows. So that's it for episode 2 of the Active Marketer Podcast. We'll see you next week when we talk to Dan Norris from WP Curve about how you can design a business for growth. See you next week, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Active Marketer Podcast. You can find the show notes and all the latest marketing automation news over at theactivemarketer.com.